The Scum Villain's Self-Saving System, Chapter 31, Audio Source, wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Chapter 31, Countdown to the Protagonist's Return, Revised. TN, translated by readers, shower her with love. No one in the blink of an eye, 3 years said. During those 3 years, except for the times when Lu Qingge helped him clear his meridians of the toxin or Mu Qingfang made medicine for him, Shen Qingque signed some disciples to supervise the traring on Qingjing Peak and spent most of his time roaming around outside. In his last life he spent most of his time at home playing video games and reading novels. When he was reborn in this place, all of these computer-related entertainments were gone. Thus, his interest in tourism was ignited. His days were carefree until he suddenly received a message talisman from Yue Qingyuan, summoning him back to Kangqiong Mountain. He had been gone such a long time that even his shadow couldn't be seen. So this time when he returned to the sect, the Qingjing Peak disciples gathered in front of the sect to welcome their master back. Seeing Shen Qingque slowly climbing up, they all cheered and rushed to surround him. Head disciple Ming Fan was already a tall young man. Although he wasn't handsome, at least he didn't look like a sharp-faced monkey with a petty cannon fodder character's face. Ning Yingying had grown up to become a lovely young maiden with a graceful figure. She had also picked up her own immortal sword from Peak. When she saw Shen Qingque, she rushed over and hugged his arm as they walked up. Although the sweet little girl liked to put her arms around him, Shen Qingque couldn't bear it since Ning Yingying's body had developed nicely. She was no longer a cute little loli. Her chest occasionally touched him by accident, making Shen Qingque's expressionless face break out in a cold sweat. "This is Luo Bing's wife. I wouldn't dare," Ning Yingying complained, like a spoiled child. Plus Zun, you are always away from Qingjing Peak, your disciples all miss you so much. Shen Qingque said indulgently. Your teacher also missed you. Wait, this is not right. You should be thinking of Luo Bing, not missing a villain. Were the original Shen Qingque and Ning Yingying this close? It seemed like Ning Yingying grew up to be a sensible girl. The original Shen Qingque probably drooled over her in a one-sided way. And you, as one of Luo Bing's wives, shouldn't you be broken-hearted, suffering 5 years of sleepless nights, growing thin from barely being able to choke down food in your grief? How come, contrary to expectations, you've actually grown plump and healthy? The disciples swarmed around Shen Qingque as he made his way to Qingjing Peak. There, Yue Qingyuan was waiting outside the hall to welcome him back. The two fellow apprentices entered the hall hand in hand. Inside the Qingjing Hall, the Peak Lords had already taken their seats while behind them were 1 or 2 of their most direct disciples. Lu Qingge was the only exception. That was because traditionally, traring at Baizan Peak was like setting a herd of sheep loose in a pasture, free and unrestrained. Every one of them were allowed to practice their skills as they pleased. Apart from occasionally beating up a few disciples, the Peak Lord didn't teach anything until a disciple could beat him. Then the position of Peak Lord could be handed over to that disciple. So of course he had no direct disciples. Shen Qingque greeted the others then sat down on the Qingjing Peak's seat, with Ming Fan and Ning Yingying standing behind him. Opposite him were Qi Qingque and Lu Mingyan of Jianshu Peak. He didn't know how, but a thought popped up in Shen Qingque's brain: if Luo Bing were still here, he would be the only one standing behind my chair. Stop. Please don't keep popping out to remind me of your existence, protagonist. Waves hand bye-bye. Yue Qingyuan was the first to speak. You are all summoned to return to the sect because of an urgent problem. Do any of you know Jinlin City? Xiāng Tóngxiù said. Jinlin City. I've heard of it. That's a city in the Central Plains that's located at the place where two major rivers, the Luo and Heng rivers, meet. There's a lot of trade going on there and the city is quite prosperous. Yue Qingyuan nodded. Yes. People to trade at Jinlin City. It's always been a center of trade, but 2 months ago, Jinlin City closed its gates. After a pause, he added, not only are the city gates closed, no one is allowed to go in or out and messages cannot be delivered either. A well-established trading center suddenly closed itself off from the outside. There was definitely something very wrong. Shen Qingqiu lifted his teacup and blew on the surface of the tea, saying, Jinlin City is closest to Xiaohua Temple. They have a lot of dealings with each other. If something happened, the masters of the temple should be aware of any anomalies. Yue Qingyuan said, yes, 20 days ago, a Jinlin City merchant escaped from the city by waterway and went to Xiaohua Temple for help. He used the word escape, and it seemed that the situation was very serious. Everyone listened solemnly. Yue Qingyuan continued. That merchant was owner of Jinlin City's top weapon shop. Every year he went on to Xiaohua Temple to light candles and burn incense, so many of the monks knew him. When he arrived at Xiaohua Temple, he was all wrapped up in black cloth, with only half of his face exposed. He collapsed at the steps of the temple while he kept repeating that there was a terrible plague in the city. The monks immediately carried him to the hall and reported to the elders. However, by the time the elders came out, it was too late. Dead. Yue Qingyuan said slowly, that merchant had turned into a skeleton. Shen Qingqiu was terrified. He just said that the man was tired when he arrived at the temple doorway. How did he suddenly turn into a skeleton? Shen Qingqiu said, Elder Martial Brother just said the merchant's body was wrapped in black cloth from head to toe. Yue Qingyuan said, exactly. During that time, the monks tried to help him remove the black cloth, but he cried out in pain, so they dared not pull it off by force. Listening to these words, it might have been like tearing his skin off. Yue Qingyuan went on. The abbot of Xiaohua Temple was deeply disturbed. After some discussion, that very night they sent masters Wu Chen, Wu Wan, and Wu Nian to investigate. So far none of them have returned. Compared to Shen Qingqiu's generation, the Wu generation were of higher seniority, therefore their cultivation shouldn't be worse than his. Shen Qingqiu said in a slightly surprised way. No one came back. Yue Qingyuan nodded solemnly and said, Wanhua Palace and Tianyi also sent more than 10 disciples. None of them returned either. 3 of the 4 great sects had all been dragged down into this mess. Shen Qingqiu suddenly realized why they had been summoned today. Sure enough, Yue Qingyuan said, our friends sent a message to Kangqiong Mountain sect asking for our help. We must certainly send help. This matter is urgent and I fear that some others who like to stir up trouble might be behind this. Some of us have to go and some of us to stay behind. The others, needless to say, referred to the demons. Lu Qingge was the first to speak. Baizan Peak's sense of honor will not allow me to plus RK this duty. I would like to escort Junior Martial Brother Mu. Since the city was suffering from a plague, then the Lord of Qiankao Peak Mu Qingfang must be sent to help. Shen Qingqiu saw that of the 2 people who wanted to go, one was the person responsible for making his medicine while the other was the one who assisted him in clearing his meridians of the poison. They didn't have the protagonist's halo, so anything could happen to them. This was too worrying. What if they should meet with some misfortune? He said, would like to go with them. Yue Qingyuan hesitated. I intended to ask you to stay behind to protect the sect. Shen Qingqiu still didn't know how to deal with him. All he could do was, "Elder brother sect master, why do you think I'm so fragile? Even though I am not so talented, if it really is the demons, I know a little about them that will be of help." A walking demon encyclopedia. Whether it was the original Shen Qingqiu or him, both of them could definitely be given this TLE. For hundreds of years, King Jingpek had accumulated this knowledge. If the Peak Lord didn't read all those books, then he would be buried behind the back of the bamboo house. Yuan considered this, and in the end he let him go with Lu Qingge and Mu Qingfang, since it would be easy for them to. Also, the Lord of Baizan Peak can protect them. WuxiaWorldAudio.com. It was decided that they would be divided into 3 groups. Lu, Mu, and Shen would go first to check out what was happening in the city. The second group would stay outside the city and make a move whenever they were needed. The third group would stay behind to protect the Kangqiong Mountain sect. The situation was urgent, which meant they couldn't spare the time to use boats, carriages, and other vehicles. Shen Qingqiu wasn't used to using just his flying sword to travel, and he was a little bit scared of heights, too, but he knew that this time he must match his companion's speed. 3 people set off on their flying swords. After half a day, Shen Qingqiu, with his robes fluttering in the wind, looked down from the clouds and shouted to his fellow sect brothers, "Below us is the place where the Luo and Heng rivers meet." From high above, they looked at the 2 rivers that crossed each other. They looked like 2 silvery, long, and slender ribbons glittering in the sunlight, as if they were silver scales dancing chaotically. One of those was the river where Luo Bing'er was found floating on an ice floe right after he was born. His surname was based on that river. The trio chose an open, flat hill as a landing point. From there they could see the upturned eaves of the houses in Jinlin City, as well as its closed gates and bridges. Shen Qingqiu lowered the hand that he had been using to shade his eyes from the sunlight. "Why don't we fly straight into the city?" Mu Qingfang explained. Xiaohua Temple was asked by Jinlin City to create a giant formation in the sky. Flying swords or anything with spiritual power that flies over it will be forced to. As Shen Qingqiu saw at the Immortal Sword Congress, Xiaohua Temple was very skilled at formations. If they were ranked in second place regarding formations, then no one would dare to aim for first place. Shen Qingqiu asked no more questions. He thought that if this was not a normal plague, but something spread by someone with ulterior motives who wanted to create mischief, then that person must have openly walked into the city through one of its gates. Since that person couldn't fly or enter through a gate, there must be another way inside. Just as he had expected, Mu Qingfang, who had been given detailed instructions by Yuan, led the other 2 people into a forest. In the shade of the trees, there came the gurgling sound of water. The sound of water was coming from a subterranean cave. Mu Qingfang urged his 2 companions over, saying, "There is an underground river here that leads to the city." Shen Qingqiu understood what he was saying. "That weapons merchant escaped from here." Mu Qingfang nodded. "Some merchants who make covert business transactions use this place to meet or transport goods. Not many people know this place, but the weapons merchant was good friends with some of the Xiaohua Temple monks and confided the secret to them. The entrance of the cave was full of vines that were chest-high. The 3 peak lords had to bend down to go in. After they had walked for a while, Shen Qingqiu's waist ached, but there was finally some SCE over his head. The gurgling sound of water had turned into the sound of Roos plus NG water. Beside the river bed floated a few tattered, solitary S plus PS. Shen Qingqiu picked a boat that was a little bit better than the others. At least it didn't leak. With a flick of his fingertips, he lighted the lamp that was hanging from the bow. There was only one paddle. Shen Qingqiu gestured and said to Lu Qingge, "We will be moving against the current. The strongest of us will have to row us into the city. Junior brother, please." With a black face, Lu Qingge took the slender paddle and began rowing. With each stroke, the boat leaped forward a great distance. The lamp at the bow shook back and forth in confusion. Shen Qingqiu pulled Mu Qingfang to sit down comfortably. He looked at the water beside the boat and saw a few fishes happily swimming in the river. He said, "The water is clear." ... He had just finished saying this when he saw that there was something bigger following the fish. It was a corpse drifting face down in the water. End chapter 31. End chapter.